The lights in the Galactic Research Station Kepler-9 hummed softly as Dr. Valen reviewed the day's assignments, his long fingers moving across the data screen with practiced ease, sorting through the routine biological assessments that came with every new species contact. The Galactic Council required detailed information before any species could join the interstellar community, and Dr. Valen took his work seriously. He had cataloged over 300 species in his career as a xenobiologist for the Archon diplomatic course. Kessa, he called to his junior researcher, who was organizing sample containers across the laboratory. I have a new assignment for you Earth species, newly contacted. Standard biological assessment protocol. Kessa's skin shifted to a pleased blue color as she accepted the data tablet, eager to prove herself capable of handling important work without constant supervision. She had only been with Dr. Valen's team for 2 cycles, but already showed promise. Run the full analysis, Dr. Valen instructed. Turning back to his own work on a fungal species from the outer rim, map the predator-prey relationships, identify population controls, trace evolutionary pressures, the usual process. Kessa nodded and settled at her workstation, loading the human genetic code into the laboratory's main computer system. Every known species in the galaxy had natural predators or environmental checks that kept their populations balanced. This was the fundamental law of biology that held true across thousands of worlds. She initiated the ancestral predator algorithm, a sophisticated program that could trace evolutionary markers left by natural predators in a species' DNA. The system searched for genetic adaptations, fear responses, survival mechanisms, and instinctual behaviors coded into the very structure of life itself. The first results appeared on her screen, and Kessa frowned, reading the data twice to make sure she understood what she was seeing. Historical predator species identified, 47, the screen displayed. Current status, extinct cause systematic elimination by prey species. That couldn't be right, Kessa thought, checking the input parameters to ensure she hadn't made an error in the initial setup. No prey species had ever driven its predators to extinction. The natural balance simply didn't work that way throughout the entire galaxy. She cleared the results and ran the analysis again, using different parameters and cross-referencing with Earth's geological records. The same answer appeared: 47 predator species, all extinct, all eliminated during the same time frame that humans developed tool use and cooperative hunting. Kessa ran the analysis a 3rd time, certain the algorithm had corrupted data or conflicting information from Earth's databases. But again, the results came back identical. Dr. Valen, she called across the laboratory, keeping her voice steady despite her confusion. I think we have a problem with the human assessment. Dr. Valen looked up from his work, his skin shifting to a curious orange. What kind of problem? The ancestral predator algorithm keeps returning an error, Kessa explained, bringing up the results on the main display screen. It says humans eliminated all their natural predators. Dr. Valen stood and walked to her workstation, his expression skeptical as he reviewed the data himself. His skin slowly shifted from orange to a concerned gray as he read through the detailed breakdown. The algorithm had identified cave bears, saber-toothed cats, direwolves, short-faced bears, giant hyenas, terrorbirds, and dozens of other apex predators that had once hunted early humans. Every single species was extinct, and the genetic markers showed they hadn't died from environmental changes or natural selection. This shows active hunting, Dr. Valen said quietly, pointing to specific data clusters on the screen. Humans didn't just outlive their predators, they deliberately eliminated them from their world. Kessa's skin turned pale with shock. That's impossible. Prey species don't hunt their predators to extinction. Apparently humans did, Dr. Valen replied. running additional verification protocols to confirm the results. Every test came back the same. He pulled up Earth's historical records and began cross-referencing the extinction dates with human technological development. The pattern was clear and disturbing. As humans spread across their planet, predator populations collapsed when humans developed better weapons and organized hunting parties. The largest predators disappeared completely. They didn't just defend themselves, Dr. Vallon observed, highlighting sections of data. They actively sought out predator dens, killed the young, tracked the adults. This was systematic extermination. Kessa felt her breathing quicken. What do we do with this information? Dr. Vallon considered the question carefully, understanding the implications for Earth's membership application. We forward it to Ambassador Threx. He's the Council's liaison for Earth relations, and he needs to see this before humanity makes their formal presentation. He composed a detailed report, including all the raw data analysis results and his own observations about the unprecedented nature of the findings. No other species in the galactic database showed this pattern of predator elimination. Do you think they're dangerous? Kessa asked quietly. I don't know, Dr. Vallon admitted. But the Council will want answers before they allow humans into galactic society. Meanwhile, on Earth, Dr. Kevin Morrison reviewed the presentation materials one more time, ensuring every detail was perfect for humanity's upcoming address to the Galactic Council. He stood in the temporary headquarters established for the diplomatic mission, surrounded by displays showing Earth's cultural achievements, scientific discoveries, and artistic accomplishments. How's it looking? Dr. Amanda Chun asked, entering the room with 2 cups of coffee. Good, Kevin replied, accepting the coffee gratefully. I think we have a strong case. Our achievements in medicine, technology, arts, philosophy. Any reasonable council should see that humanity deserves membership. Amanda smiled, though she felt the same nervousness that Kevin was trying to hide. We've prepared for every question they might ask about our history, our governmental systems, our approach to interstellar relations. Ambassador Threx seemed positive during our last communication, Kevin noted. Pulling up the message logs, he said the council was looking forward to meeting us formally. Neither of them knew that at that very moment. Ambassador Threx was reading Dr. Vallon's report with growing concern, his hands trembling slightly as he reviewed the data about humanity's systematic elimination of their predators. Threx had met with human representatives several times and found them pleasant, intelligent, and genuinely interested in peaceful cooperation. But this genetic data suggested something darker in their evolutionary pasta, capacity for complete and systematic elimination of threats. He forwarded the report to the Galactic Council Security Committee with a priority flag, adding his own note. Recommend immediate review before proceeding with Earth's membership application. Unprecedented biological findings require Council assessment. Back on Earth. Kevin's communication device chimed with an incoming message from the Council. He opened it eagerly, expecting confirmation of their presentation date. Instead, he read, Earth Diplomatic Team. The Council requests permission to send a research team to your planet for cultural and biological assessment before proceeding with membership. Consideration. Please respond with available dates and access permissions. Kevin frowned, reading the message again. Amanda, look at this. She read over his shoulder, her expression shifting to concern. This isn't standard procedure. They already have our biological data and cultural records. Something's changed, Kevin said, a knot forming in his stomach. They want to observe us directly before making a decision. Should we be worried? Amanda asked. I don't know, Kevin replied honestly. But we need to prepare for whatever questions they're really trying to answer. He immediately contacted Dr. Lisa Yamamoto, a historian specializing in human conflict and cooperation. If the Council had concerns about humanity's past, Lisa would help them present the truth in the best possible context. "Lisa, we have a situation," Kevin said when she answered. "The council is sending researchers before they'll consider our membership. I need you to prepare a comprehensive presentation on human history. Peace efforts, international cooperation. How comprehensive?" Lisa asked, already pulling up her research databases. "Everything," Kevin replied. "They're clearly concerned about. Something we need to show them humanity at our best." What Kevin didn't know was that the council wasn't looking for humanity's best moments. They were trying to understand how a prey species had become so dangerous that it eliminated every predator that ever threatened it. The R. Valens report had raised a fundamental question that no one in the galactic community had ever confronted. What happens when the prey becomes the ultimate predator? And more importantly, what happens when that species wants to join a galaxy full of potential competitors? The answers to those questions would determine not just Earth's membership in the Galactic Council, but potentially the future of human-alien relations for generations to come. Ambassador Threx scheduled an emergency session of the Security Committee, knowing that this discovery about humanity would force the Council to confront uncomfortable truths about evolution, survival, and the nature of intelligent life throughout the galaxy. The Security Committee chamber filled with representatives from 40 different species, each taking their designated position around the circular council room as Ambassador Threx prepared to present the findings about humanity. The lighting dimmed and holographic displays activated, showing Dr. Valens' complete report on human evolutionary history and predator elimination patterns. "Members of the Security Committee," Threx began, his voice carrying the weight of genuine concern. "We have discovered something unprecedented in our assessment of Earth's application for Council membership." The display showed images of extinct Earth predators, massive bears with teeth like daggers, cats larger than any modern lion, wolves that hunted in coordinated packs. Every species we have cataloged maintains some form of natural predator or environmental check on population growth. Threx continued. "This is the fundamental balance of life throughout the known galaxy until now." Councilmember Drask of the Vulcar species leaned forward, his scaled hands gripping the table edge. "What are you saying, Ambassador?" "Humans eliminated every single predator species that threatened them," Threx stated flatly. 47 apex predators, all extinct. All killed systematically by what we classified as a prey species. The chamber erupted in shocked murmurs and concerned discussions, skin colors shifting across the spectrum as different species processed this information. Council member Yara from the aquatic Dishan species spoke up, her voice carrying through the translation system. "That's impossible. Prey species don't have the capability to eliminate their predators." "Humans do," Threx replied, bringing up genetic data showing human tool use evolution. They developed weapons, cooperative hunting strategies, and systematic extermination campaigns against anything they perceived as a threat. Drask stood, his expression grave. "My people evolved alongside the Fentari massive pack hunters that still roam our northern territories. We developed technology and civilization while maintaining balance with our predators. This is the natural order for every species except humans," Threx acknowledged. Yara activated her own display panel, showing images from her homeworld of Desha. "The deep predators of my world hunt in the abyssal zones. My people respect them, avoid them, study them, but we would never consider eradicating them entirely. Yet humans did exactly that," Threx said, advancing the presentation to show Earth's historical timeline. "And they didn't stop with natural predators when other species threatened their agriculture. They eliminated those too. When resources became scarce, they eliminated competing species when other humans became threats. They developed increasingly efficient methods of elimination." A representative from the insectoid Krell species clicked rapidly. The translation rendering his words: this species identifies threats and removes them permanently. They don't adapt. They don't relocate. They don't find balance. They simply eliminate. Threx nodded grimly. That is the pattern we see throughout their evolutionary history. Council member Drask pulled up additional Earth data. Look at their weapons development. They went from simple spears to nuclear weapons in less than 10,000 years. That's incredibly fast technological advancement driven by conflict. They even weaponized disease, another council member observed, reviewing historical records of biological warfare attempts. Yara raised her hand for attention. What about their recent history? Surely they've developed beyond such destructive behaviors? Threx brought up modern Earth data. They have made progress in international cooperation, environmental protection laws, conservation efforts, but these changes are very recent in evolutionary terms. Only a few generations out of millions of years of elimination-based survival. How recent? Drask demanded. Their major conservation movement began less than 100 Earth years ago, Threx replied. Before that, they were still actively eliminating species they found inconvenient or threatening. The committee members exchanged worried looks across species lines. A representative from the Peaceful Meridian Collective spoke softly. If we allow them into the council, and they perceive any of us as threats or competitors for resources, what prevents them from applying the same elimination strategies they used on their own world? The question hung in the air. Unanswered and troubling, Drask made a formal motion. I propose we delay Earth's membership application, indefinitely pending further investigation into their behavioral patterns and threat assessment protocols. Seconded. Yara called out immediately. Before we vote, Threx interjected. I recommend we send a field research team to Earth, observe their current society, interview their leaders, and assess whether their recent behavioral changes represent genuine evolution or simply temporary adaptation. Drask considered this a reasonable approach if we're going to reject their application. We should have comprehensive data to support our decision. The committee voted unanimously to commission a field study, and Threx was authorized to select and deploy a research team with full access to Earth's historical records, museums, and human communities on Earth. Kevin Morrison stood in the diplomatic headquarters reading the council's latest message, his expression growing more concerned with each line. They want to send researchers here, he told Amanda Chun, who had just arrived for their morning meeting. Not just a courtesy visit, they're requesting full access to historical records, museums, and permission to observe our communities. Amanda frowned. That's unusual. What are they looking for? The message doesn't specify, Kevin replied. It's worded very carefully to sound routine, but my instincts say something has changed in how they view our application. Do we grant the access? Amanda asked. We don't have much choice, Kevin said. Refusing would only make them more suspicious of whatever they're concerned about. We need to cooperate fully and show them humanity at our best. He contacted Lisa Yamamoto and explained the situation. They're doing a threat assessment, Lisa said immediately, her historian's instincts recognizing the pattern. Something in our data triggered their security concerns. What could it be? Kevin asked, genuinely puzzled. We've been completely transparent about our history, our governmental systems, our intentions. I'll start pulling together a comprehensive presentation on human peace efforts, Lisa offered. Treaties, international organizations, humanitarian work, everything that shows our cooperative nature. She began her research that afternoon, diving into historical databases and modern diplomatic records. But the more she compiled, the more she realized the challenge they faced. For every peace treaty, there were dozens of wars. For every conservation success story, there were hundreds of extinct species. For every example of international cooperation, there were countless examples of conflict and competition. The data didn't paint the picture Kevin hoped for. And Lisa knew she couldn't hide the truth from researchers who would have access to complete historical records. 3 days later, the Galactic research team arrived on Earth in a sleek diplomatic vessel that landed at the designated coordinates outside Washington, D.C. Senior researcher Paul emerged first, followed by his 2 assistants Myra and Jen. All 3 wore translation devices and carried scanning equipment. Kevin and Amanda met them at the landing site, offering formal greetings and welcome to Earth. "Thank you for hosting our research mission," Paul said, his skin a neutral gray color. "We appreciate your cooperation with the Council's assessment process." "We're happy to help," Kevin replied, trying to project confidence. "What would you like to see first?" "Your natural history museums," Paul requested. "We're interested in understanding Earth's evolutionary context." Amanda and Kevin exchanged quick glances, but agreed immediately. They arranged transportation to the Smithsonian National Museum of Natural History. As they walked through the exhibits, the alien researchers seemed particularly focused on the extinct species displays. Paul stopped at every placard, describing animals that no longer existed. When they reached the hall showing Ice Age megafauna, Paul's skin shifted to a darker gray. His assistant Myra was taking detailed scans and notes. "These creatures," Paul said, pointing to the mammoth skeleton. "Humans hunted them to extinction?" "That's what the evidence suggests," Kevin admitted. Though climate change also played a role, but human hunting was a significant factor. Paul interrupted, reading the museum placard word for word. "Yes," Kevin acknowledged, feeling increasingly uncomfortable. They continued through the museum, and with each extinct species exhibit, the researchers became more somber when they finished the tour. Amanda tried to redirect the conversation. "We've developed strong conservation ethics since those early periods. We now have laws protecting endangered species and extensive habitat preservation programs." "Why did these protections become necessary?" Mira asked bluntly. Amanda hesitated. "Because human activity had threatened many species with extinction. So humans created the problems and then created solutions to problems they caused," Paul observed. Kevin felt his frustration rising but kept his voice calm. "That's an oversimplification. Human civilization evolved over time, and our understanding of environmental stewardship grew with our capabilities." Paul simply nodded, making more notes on his device over the next 2 weeks. The research team traveled extensively, visiting national parks, urban centers, agricultural regions, and historical. Senior researcher Paul and his team spent 3 weeks traveling across Earth, documenting human behavior patterns and interviewing specialists from various fields. Each new piece of information added complexity to their understanding while simultaneously reinforcing their initial concerns. In Alaska, they observed grizzly bears fishing for salmon while human tourists watched from designated safe distances. The humans carried noisemakers and bear spray, maintaining respectful boundaries that seemed to indicate genuine coexistence. "This looks promising," Myra commented, recording the peaceful interaction between species. But when they spoke with local park rangers, they learned that this careful coexistence was recent, enforced by strict regulations, and still resulted in bears being killed whenever they entered human settlements or showed aggressive behavior toward people. "How many bears are killed each year?" Paul asked the ranger. "Maybe 10 to 15 in this region." The ranger replied, "Only when they become dangerous or lose their fear of humans." "What happened before these protection laws existed?" Paul pressed. The ranger shifted uncomfortably. Their bear populations were much lower. Hunting and habitat loss reduced their numbers significantly before conservation efforts began. Paul made notes while Myra scanned historical population data. The pattern repeated itself. Humans nearly eliminated a species, then implemented protections to preserve what remained in Africa. They visited safari parks, where tourists paid substantial money to see elephants, lions, and rhinoceros in their natural habitats. Armed rangers patrolled constantly to prevent poaching. Dr. Nicole Bradford, a wildlife biologist working on elephant conservation, met with the research team to explain the extensive efforts required to protect these animals. "We have GPS tracking on all the elephants in this region," Nicole explained enthusiastically. "Anti-poaching units respond within minutes to any threats. And we work with local communities to reduce human-wildlife conflict. These animals require constant armed protection to survive." Paul asked. "Unfortunately, yes," Nicole admitted. "Poaching for ivory and traditional medicine has devastated elephant populations. Without active protection, they would likely go extinct within a generation." Jen, Paul's other assistant, asked the obvious question: who is doing the poaching? "Other humans," Nicole said quietly. "People who see the animals as resources rather than beings worthy of protection." Paul's skin shifted to a troubled dark gray. "So some humans work to protect these species, while other humans actively try to kill them for profit." "It's complicated," Nicole began, but Paul interrupted. "It seems quite simple. Humans can't even agree among themselves whether other species should exist." Nicole felt stung by the assessment but couldn't deny its accuracy. Later that day, the research team met with Kevin, Amanda, and Lisa in a conference room at the Conservation Center. "I want to understand your conservation movement," Paul said directly. "Why did it become necessary?" Nicole, who had joined the meeting, launched into a passionate explanation of rewilding projects, endangered species recovery programs, and the global network of protected areas. "We've brought several species back from the brink of extinction," she said proudly, showing images of recovered populations. California condors, black-footed ferrets, gray wolves, all success stories of human dedication to preserving biodiversity. Paul listened carefully, then asked, "Dr. Bradford, why were these species on the brink of extinction in the first place?" The room fell silent. Nicole answered honestly: "Human hunting, habitat destruction, and resource exploitation. So humans nearly eliminated them, then worked to save them," Mira summarized. "This is the same pattern we see everywhere on your planet." Kevin stepped into the conversation. "That pattern shows growth and learning. We made mistakes and corrected them. Isn't that evidence of positive evolution? Or evidence that humans only change behavior after visible collapse?" Myra countered. "Your conservation movement didn't begin when species were merely threatened. It began when extinctions became undeniable." Amanda tried a different approach. "Many of Earth's conditions forced humans to be aggressive for survival. Our climate has extreme variations. Resources are limited in many regions, and we evolved alongside dangerous predators." She brought up climate data showing ice ages, droughts, volcanic winters, and mass extinction events that affected Earth throughout human evolution. "Humans survived through adaptability and sometimes through aggression," Amanda continued. "But that same drive for survival made us innovative, cooperative, and eventually capable of space travel and diplomacy." Paul acknowledged this with a gesture. "Many harsh worlds have produced intelligent species. Several council members evolved under similar conditions, yet none of them eliminated all their predators. They found balance instead." Lisa decided to add historical context. "Human history is marked by competition between groups for resources. This competition drove conflict, but it also drove innovation, cooperation within communities, and eventually the development of global civilization." "Tell us about human conflicts," Paul requested, his tone neutral, but his skin color indicating serious concern. Lisa couldn't hide the truth, not with these researchers having full access to Earth's historical databases. She walked them through major conflicts systematically. Ancient conquests where empires expanded through military force. Colonial periods when European powers competed for global dominance. Two devastating world wars that killed millions and nearly destroyed human civilization. And after learning from these catastrophic wars, Lisa explained, humanity created international organizations to prevent future conflicts, the United Nations, NATO. Trade agreements designed to make war economically irrational. How many wars are currently occurring on Earth? Jen asked. Lisa pulled up current conflict data. Several regional conflicts, mostly internal disputes or territorial disagreements, but nothing approaching the scale of historical wars. Several, Paul repeated. Not zero. Peace is a process, Kevin interjected. Not a destination we've fully reached yet, but the trend is clearly toward less violence, more cooperation, and stronger international institutions. Myra posed the question that everyone was thinking. If humans compete this violently with their own species over limited resources, what happens when they enter a galaxy full of different species competing for the same planets? The same resources, the same trade routes? Kevin felt the weight of the question and realized this was the core of the Council's concern. They weren't worried about what humans had done on Earth. They were worried about what humans might do in a galactic context. That's a fair question, Kevin admitted. And I don't have a perfect answer except to say that humanity has learned and continues to learn from our mistakes. We want to join the galactic community as partners, not conquerors, Amanda added. We're asking for a chance to prove ourselves through actions, not just words. That evening, after the researchers had returned to their accommodations, Kevin, Amanda, and Lisa met privately to assess the situation. They're building a case against us, Lisa said bluntly. Every answer we give seems to confirm their fears rather than alleviate them. Because we're being honest about our history, Amanda replied. Should we be hiding information instead? No, Kevin said firmly. If they discover we're being deceptive, we'll never gain their trust. Honesty is our only real option, even if it's uncomfortable. Then, we need to reframe the narrative, Lisa suggested. Stop defending individual historical events and start talking about the broader pattern of human growth and transformation. How do we do that when they keep asking about specific wars and extinctions? Amanda asked. We acknowledge the specifics, but emphasize the trajectory, Lisa explained. Humans are moving away from violence toward cooperation. That's the story we need to tell convincingly. Kevin nodded slowly. We need to show them that human capacity for elimination can be redirected toward protection and building. That the same intensity that eliminated threats can be channeled toward preserving peace. Meanwhile, in his temporary quarters, Paul was composing his preliminary report to Ambassador Threx. Human behavior shows concerning patterns, he wrote. Systematic elimination of perceived threats, intense intraspecies competition, rapid weapons development, and recent but limited progress toward cooperation conservation. Ethics are encouraging, but represent only a few generations against millions of years of evolutionary programming. He paused, considering his recommendation carefully. Humans appear evolutionarily optimized for threat elimination, he continued. Their recent peace efforts are genuine but insufficient evidence of permanent behavioral change. Recommend Earth's membership. Application be denied pending demonstration of at least 500 years of consistent peaceful behavior and successful coexistence with potential competitors. He reviewed the report once more, then transmitted it to Ambassador Threx with a priority flag. Threx received the report and read it with growing resignation. He had hoped the field research would alleviate the Security Committee's concerns. But Paul's findings only reinforced them. The question now was whether humanity would even get a chance to present their case to the full council, or whether the Security Committee would reject their application before it reached formal consideration. Threx made his decision and sent a message to Earth's diplomatic team. Humanity would be Ambassador Threx stood before the assembled Galactic Council. The massive chamber filled with representatives from 40 species spanning hundreds of worlds. Each member settled into their designated position as holographic displays activated throughout the space. Council members. Threx began. Senior researcher Paul has completed his field assessment of Earth and humanity. I am now presenting his findings for your review. The displays lit up with images from Earth, extinct predators, weapons development timelines, conflict statistics, and conservation data. Paul's report appeared in translation for each species. Humans demonstrate systematic threat elimination behaviors, intense interspecies competition, and recent but limited cooperative development. Recommend membership denial pending extended observation period. Council member Drask spoke first, his scaled hands gesturing emphatically. This confirms our initial concerns. A prey species that eliminated every predator represents a fundamental disruption of natural order. Other council members murmured agreement. Skin colors shifting across the chamber to indicate various levels of concern and alarm. Council member Yara from Desha added her voice. My people have coexisted with our ocean predators for millions of years. We respect the balance of nature. Humans clearly do not share this fundamental understanding. They understand it now, Threx interjected carefully. Their conservation efforts demonstrate growing awareness that came only after massive damage was already done, Drask interrupted. This is reactive behavior, not proactive wisdom. A representative from the Krell hive mind clicked rapidly. The translation rendering. Humans optimize for elimination when they perceive threats. They remove them permanently. What prevents them from viewing council species as threats? The question resonated throughout the chamber, and Threx knew the tide was turning against humanity. Council member Drask made a formal proposal. I move that we reject Earth's membership application immediately. The security risk is too significant to ignore. Several council members signaled their support. But before a vote could be called, a delegate from the Meridian Collective raised a procedural objection. Ambassador Threx, the Meridian representative said gently, have the humans been given opportunity to address these concerns directly? Threx appreciated the intervention. Not yet. I was about to propose exactly that. Drask's skin shifted to an irritated red. What could they possibly say to change these facts? Perhaps nothing, Threx admitted. But fairness demands we allow them to speak before rendering final judgment. We evaluate species on their potential, not just their past. After heated debate, the council reached a compromise. Humanity would be granted one session to address the full council, but membership approval would require unanimous consent. Any single dissenting vote would result in permanent rejection. The decision was transmitted to Earth, and Kevin Morrison received a message with mixed feelings of hope and dread. Unanimous approval, he read aloud to Amanda and Lisa. That's nearly impossible. We need every single council member to vote in our favor. It's better than outright rejection, Amanda offered, though her voice lacked conviction. We have 1 week to prepare, Kevin said, checking the timeline. One presentation to change their entire perspective on humanity. Lisa pulled up her research on galactic politics. Unanimous votes are extremely rare in council history. They're usually reserved for emergency security measures or fundamental policy changes. So they're setting us up to fail, Kevin concluded. Or they're giving us a chance to prove we're worth the risk, Amanda countered. Either way, we need to make the absolute best case possible. They spent the next 3 days debating strategy. Kevin argued they should focus on human achievements, art, science, philosophy, technological innovations that benefited all sapient life. Lisa insisted they had to address the predator elimination issue directly. If we avoid it, the council will think we're hiding from our own history. Amanda suggested finding a framework the council would understand. We need to present our evolution as a transformation story, from survival-focused to cooperation-focused. They finally agreed on a three-part structure: acknowledgement, explanation, and evidence of change. Kevin would handle acknowledgement, facing the facts honestly without minimizing their severity. Lisa would provide historical explanation, showing the context that shaped human behavior. Amanda would present evidence of transformation demonstrating humanity's trajectory toward cooperation and peace. They rehearsed constantly, refining their arguments and anticipating counterpoints. The day arrived, and Kevin, Amanda, and Lisa were transported to the Galactic Council Station, a massive structure orbiting a neutral star system. They were escorted to a preparation chamber adjacent to the main council hall, where they could hear the muffled sounds of the assembled representatives. "Are you ready?" Amanda asked, though she was clearly asking herself as much as the others. "No," Kevin admitted, "but we're out of time." The chamber doors opened, and they walked into the council hall. 40 species representing hundreds of worlds watching as humanity made its case for membership. The chamber was enormous, with tiered seating rising in all directions around a central presentation platform. Holographic translation systems floated above each delegation, rendering their words into appropriate formats. Kevin approached the central podium and began. "Council members, thank you for this opportunity," he said, keeping his voice steady. "We understand your concerns about humanity, and we're here to address them directly and honestly." He activated the first set of displays, showing the data from Dr. Vallen's original report. "You have asked about our evolutionary history and our relationship with predators," Kevin continued. "I want to confirm what your researchers discovered. Humans did eliminate our natural predators. We drove 47 predator species to extinction over the course of our development." The chamber stirred with reaction. They'd expected denial or justification, not immediate confirmation. "We also drove numerous other species to extinction through hunting and habitat destruction," Kevin added. Pulling up extended lists, we engaged in devastating wars with other human populations. We developed weapons of terrible efficiency, and we made countless mistakes that caused suffering and environmental damage. He let the data display fully, making no attempt to hide or minimize the evidence. "I present these facts not to excuse them, but to acknowledge them as part of our history," Kevin said. "Humanity has a violent past that is undeniable truth." Now Lisa stepped forward, advancing to the next section of their presentation. "But context matters when evaluating any species' evolution," she began, bringing up Earth's environmental data. Displays showed climate variations spanning millions of years, ice ages that locked vast portions of the planet in frozen wasteland, droughts that turned fertile regions into desert, volcanic winters that blocked sunlight for years, massive asteroid impacts that caused extinction events. "Earth is what we call a death world," Lisa explained. "Extreme temperature variations, violent weather systems, limited resources in many regions, and a biosphere filled with competing species." She showed geological data, earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, tsunamis, hurricanes. "Humans evolved not in paradise, but in constant environmental threat," Lisa continued. "We developed persistence. Hunting because we couldn't match predator. Speed, we created tools because we lacked natural weapons. We cooperated because individual survival was nearly impossible." She pulled up comparative data on human physiology. "Weaker than bears, slower than cats, lacking natural armor or venom. We were prey animals who survived by becoming smarter and more adaptable than our predators," Lisa explained. "When saber-toothed cats hunted our ancestors, we learned to hunt them back when cave bears threatened our children. We eliminated the threat. This doesn't justify the extinctions," Lisa acknowledged. but it explains the evolutionary pressure that shaped human behavior. We optimize for survival in an environment that constantly tried to kill us. She showed the timeline of human technological development alongside climate data. Our most rapid advancement occurred during periods of greatest environmental stress, Lisa pointed out. Scarcity drove innovation, threat drove cooperation, competition drove the development of complex social structures. Council member Drask interrupted. Many species evolved under harsh conditions. We didn't eliminate our predators. No, Lisa agreed. But your predators likely weren't as immediately threatening to your survival. Or perhaps your species had natural defenses humans lacked. Every evolutionary path is unique to its environment. Amanda took over for the final section. Bringing up modern Earth data, human history shows clear transformation over time, she began. Displaying statistical trends, violence rates have declined significantly over the past century despite population growth. Amanda showed the graphs. Wars have become less frequent and less deadly as international cooperation strengthened. We created the United Nations to resolve disputes peacefully. We developed international law to govern behavior between nations. She showed conservation success stories, species brought back from extinction's edge. Habitat restoration projects, the global network of protected areas. We established the International Space Station as a cooperative venture. Amanda continued, showing images of astronauts from different nations. Kevin, Amanda, and Lisa sat in the observation room overlooking the council chambers, watching through transparent walls as various species representatives engaged in heated discussions that their translation devices couldn't quite capture at this distance. Some of them look sympathetic, Lisa observed, noting the body language of certain delegates, and some look completely opposed, Amanda countered, pointing to a cluster of representatives whose skin colors indicated strong negative emotions. We need unanimous approval, Kevin reminded them quietly. Even one no vote ends our application permanently. They waited for 2 hours while the council deliberated, each minute feeling longer than the last. Finally, Ambassador Threx's assistant appeared at their door. The council is ready to vote. Please return to the presentation chamber. The walk back felt endless, their footsteps echoing in the corridor. When they entered the council hall, the atmosphere had changed, more formal, more final, weighted with the importance of what was about to happen. Ambassador Threx stood at the central podium, his expression carefully neutral. The Galactic Council has deliberated on Earth's application for membership, he announced, his voice carrying through the translation systems. We will now proceed with individual votes. Each council member will state their position and reasoning. Kevin felt his heart pounding as the first speaker was recognized. Council member Yara of the Deshans approached the podium, her aquatic features reflecting the chamber's lighting. My people evolved in balance with our environment, Yara began. Our ocean predators hunt in the deep places, and we respect their territory. This is the natural order we have maintained for millions of years. She paused, her expression regretful. Humanity's elimination of their predators represents a fundamental violation of that natural balance, Yara continued. While I appreciate their honesty and their conservation efforts, I cannot support membership for a species that demonstrated such disregard for the interconnected web of life. She cast her vote, opposed. Kevin felt his hope beginning to crumble. If the first vote was negative, what chance did they have of achieving unanimous approval? Councilmember Drask spoke next, his scaled form imposing even through the holographic display. The Vulcar lived alongside the Fentauri for countless generations, Drask said. We learned to coexist through respect and appropriate boundaries. Our civilization developed without requiring the extinction of our predators. He looked directly at the human delegation. I believe humanity is sincere in their desire for peaceful cooperation, Drask acknowledged. But sincerity is not the same as safety. A species that systematically eliminated every threat it faced poses an inherent risk to galactic stability. He voted opposed. One by one, council members stated their positions, and the count ran heavily against humanity. Representatives cited concerns about human violence, aggressive expansion patterns, weapons development, and the fundamental question of whether a predator-eliminating species could coexist peacefully with potential competitors. After 15 negative votes, Kevin had stopped counting. The unanimous approval they needed was clearly impossible. Then Council Member Ziek of the Karathi species requested to speak. The Karathi were known throughout the galaxy as historians and anthropologists. Their long-lived species, maintaining detailed records of galactic civilization spanning thousands of years. Zek's elderly form moved slowly to the podium, his skin showing the pale coloring of advanced age. Council members, Zek began, his voice carrying quiet authority. I have listened carefully to the concerns raised about humanity's violent history, the predator eliminations, the intraspecies conflicts, the weapons development. He paused, letting his words settle. And I agree that these concerns are valid based on the evidence presented. Zek continued. However, I believe we are applying an inconsistent standard in our judgment. Confused murmurs rippled through the chamber. Zek activated his own display system, pulling up historical data from council archives. Let us examine the Velker evolution, Zek said, displaying genetic and archaeological data. Council member Drask spoke of coexisting with the Fentari predators. This is true. The display showed images of the Fentari, massive pack-hunting predators. But the Velker also competed with 17 other intelligent species during their rise to dominance on their homeworld. Zek revealed, pulling up extinct species data. All 17 are now extinct, eliminated through competition for resources and territory. Drask's skin shifted to a defensive red. Those were rival species, not predators. Does that distinction matter to the extinct species? Zek interrupted gently. The Vulcar eliminated competition, just as humans eliminated predators. The only difference is the Velker faced competition from other intelligent species, while humans faced competition from predators. He advanced to the next dataset. The Theshans, Zek continued, looking toward Yara. You correctly stated that your ocean predators still exist. You did not eliminate them. Yara's features showed confusion about where this was leading. However, Zek said, displaying Theshan evolutionary data, you systematically eliminated 3 intelligent aquatic species that competed for the same oceanic resources, the Kelmer, the Dreshni, and the Voss. Images appeared of extinct Theshan competitors, their skeletal structures showing clear signs of intelligence. These species developed tools, social structures, and communication, Zek explained. They were eliminated not through environmental change, but through direct competition with early Theshan civilization. Yara's coloring shifted to indicate shame and distress. Zek proceeded through council species after council species, revealing carefully hidden or forgotten aspects of their evolutionary histories. The Krell had eliminated 6 competing hive mind species during their development. The Meridian Collective had absorbed and destroyed 4 other collective consciousness species. The Archons, Dr. Valen's species, had eliminated 9 predator species despite claiming to maintain natural balance. With each revelation, the chamber grew quieter. Council members confronting uncomfortable truths about their own origins. Every single species in this council eliminated something during their rise to dominance, Zek stated firmly. Some eliminated predators, some eliminated competing intelligent species. Some eliminated both. He displayed comparative data showing elimination patterns across all council species. Humans are unusual, not in their capacity for elimination, Zek explained, but in their documentation of it, Most species erased evidence of their violent origins, or simply forgot over the millennia. He pulled up specific examples. The Vulcar historical records begin only after their rival species were extinct. Convenient timing, Zek observed. The Leshens have extensive oceanic archives, but somehow lack any detailed records of their extinct. Competitors also convenient. Humans documented their wars, their extinctions, their mistakes, Zek continued. They preserved evidence that most species would have destroyed or hidden. This transparency is being used against them unfairly. He brought up comparative violence statistics. Human violence rates have declined faster than any species in our database. Zek showed the graphs. Most council species took thousands of years to develop stable, peaceful civilizations. Humans are attempting to do so in hundreds. Their conservation movement began during their early technological phase, Zek pointed out. Most of us didn't develop environmental protection until after achieving interstellar travel. Humans are ahead of the typical curve, not behind it. He deactivated the displays and addressed the council directly. Yes, humanity eliminated their predators, Zek said, but they also eliminated slavery. They developed universal rights. They created international law. And they are actively working to eliminate war itself. They haven't completed their transformation, Zek acknowledged. But neither had we when we joined this council. We gave ourselves grace for being imperfect. And I believe we should extend the same grace to humanity. He paused, looking around the chamber at his fellow council members. We judge humanity harshly for the same behaviors we exhibited ourselves, Zek concluded. This is not justice. This is hypocrisy. He cast his vote in favor of human membership. The declaration shocked the chamber into silence. Slowly, delegates began requesting access to the historical data Zek had presented, verifying his claims about their own species' origins. Council member Drask examined the Vulcar data with growing discomfort. Unable to deny the evidence of his species' elimination of intelligent competitors, Yara reviewed the Leshen records, confronting the reality of her people's violent past. The chamber erupted in debate as council members grappled with this new perspective. Ambassador Threx called for order and announced a brief recess for delegates to review the historical data and reconsider their positions. 3 days passed while the council conducted extensive research into their own evolutionary histories. Species that had built their identities on peaceful coexistence were forced to acknowledge violent origins they had forgotten or suppressed. When voting resumed, the atmosphere had fundamentally changed. Council members stood one after another, acknowledging the validity of Zek's arguments. I cannot condemn humanity for behaviors my own species exhibited, one delegate stated, changing their vote to approval. If we judge species by their worst historical moments rather than their trajectories, none of us deserve